like what they've done for you in your life. Because it's not necessarily, like, I don't think it's a bad thing to say that it helped you with money, right? Like if maybe they want to join a team or maybe they want to start making money, like when you inspire them with your story of where you were and where you are now, that helps people, one, feel like if you can do it, they can do it. If it helped you, that maybe it will help them. And then like if it helped you, it can help them, and then they can potentially get where you are. So whenever people, and I'm sure when you guys first started, some of you must have thought, or maybe there are people that you know that have started, and like when you first start, you're like I don't know enough. Can I really go on video? Can I really share that experience? Are people going to look at me differently? And really it's beginning with starting by like not allowing those thoughts to prevent you from sharing the story, because there is somebody out there who is struggling, who is where you used to be, and really needs to hear your story to know that they can be where you are now.
So it really is, people connect with your why, then they will your success. So it's really getting connected with why you got started and how you felt when you got started, and really the newness of it, the rawness of that, because that's what most people will relate to.
Mm-hmm. And that's a really good point about like the newness, the rawness, and what else did you say? There was something else you said that I was like, oh, I really wanted to.
Vulnerable, the why, I don't know.
Okay. Anyways, I think it was like something about how like, the feelings. Okay. So that was a good point about talking about how people are going to connect with the feelings, because feelings are universal. So when you share, I was sad, I felt depressed, or I felt like not comfortable or not confident in my body, feelings are things that we all can relate to. So if you notice, if you've heard people's story and you're like, their story looks nothing like my story, but I can connect with the feeling that they expressed during that story. Like if they felt lonely, if they felt unhappy, if they felt insecure, like these are types of feelings that we've all had in the past. So we can all relate to those parts. And so when we listen to someone's story, we actually, as humans, as animals, we want to be like them, because like that's how we connect. That's how we're social. At the core level, we're animals and we need each other to survive. So when we want to be like other people, we find things in their story that are similar to us. And it starts with sharing the feeling. So less about, I think a lot of people get stuck in like sharing like tips and tricks and things like that. And that's actually, believe it or not, I've actually done a poll like this on my Instagram. Believe it or not, the tips and tricks are not actually what people want. They want the like mindset shifts, the like thoughts, the feelings, the story part of it. And that's why people love podcasts, is because they love to hear the story aspects. It's more about the story than it is necessarily like hard tips and tricks.
Okay, so when we think of branding ourselves and separating ourselves from all the other, not just MLM companies, but all the other It Works distributors, people are going to purchase from us because they like, know, and trust us, which means we have to post things that allow them to get to like, know, and trust us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. It's like people buy from people they like. Like I'm sure you guys have all like had that experience where you met somebody and you chose to purchase or work with that person instead of somebody else. It's because like we want to purchase from people we like, and we want to like buy from people we like. And not necessarily like we don't need to be liked by everyone. I can guarantee you I'm not always nice. I say things that really hurt people's feelings sometimes. I have like strong views myself. So like I swear a lot. So like, I mean, when I do those things, I don't really necessarily think like some people that are put off by that, and other people gravitate towards that. So it's also about sharing so much. Yeah. So she said, I'm very blunt and honest. Show that and share that. Like one of my favorite of our podcast episodes is like when I was talking about masturbating your gifts, when you're only pleasuring yourself with them. And like, as much as like that title is ridiculous, that is something that like pulls people in or pushes people away. My dad's always like, why do you have to say that word in a place of business? But like, that's really
I saw that on your thing today.
Like, whoopsies, sorry guys. But like, that's what connects people with me, because I tell a lot of dirty jokes. I have a lot of like, dirty examples of things. And like some people are gravitating towards that, some people are not. And so you do want to kind of separate yourself from everybody, because one of my mantras with that is, when I speak to everybody, I speak to nobody. So if you're too general, if we're talking to you like, oh, this is going to change your life. Well, how is it going to change my life? Like, what is the impact going to be? And you don't have to talk to everybody all at once, but just pick out some specific examples of what happened for you, or how this worked for you, or how you felt differently, or like just like really specific examples. Because sometimes, like, if you're a mom and you want to sometimes speak to moms, talk about some mom life. You know, if you're single and you want to talk about being single, like, make jokes about that. You know, like, yes, people want real, not fake. I actually have that in one of my webinars. Because people notice when they feel like you're real. That's why live video is so powerful right now, is because it's not produced. It's like they get to see you real and raw and see how you interact, see how you really are when you're unscripted. So let me tell you, I make tons and tons and tons of mistakes along the way. And it's kind of about like brushing it off, making a joke about it. Because we all make mistakes. Again, that's what makes us human, is that we're not perfect. We don't know everything. Not everything goes exactly as planned. The first webinar I ever did, there was sage burning beside me. I almost died because my whole apartment was like, there was a fire beside me while I'm like, continuing on. Like, you know, like, you just gotta go with the flow and be like, I'm gonna be suffocated by sage right now. Who knew that that could happen? But like, you just gotta go with it. And sometimes, like, my video shuts down or something doesn't work. Whatever, like, that's what connects with you, because if you show them that you just roll with it, then they realize that they don't have to be perfect either.
I remember one time I was doing a live video and I was like, I've got 10 minutes before this pie crust comes out, so I'm going to do this video real quick. And then in the middle of the video, the thing beeps and I like carry my phone over and I take the pie out. And then I like look at myself for the first time when I turn on the live, you know, and my hair's all a mess. And I remember I was like beating myself up and I was like, I need to delete this, but I couldn't delete it. I had 8,000 views. I was like, I can't delete this. So I was talking to friends afterwards and they go, no, your live was awesome. I thought you planned that. And I was like, okay, no, so I'm a mess and things are going off. Like
this is such a good point though, because there are so many times where I so screw up so bad, or I was so embarrassed, or there's a live video I did not too long ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, where I'm like, my math was so bad that I'm like, how did you even say that out loud? Like, it was so ridiculous. Like, it was like, I couldn't understand how to divide 10 or 1,000 or something ridiculous. But like, you know what? You just keep going because the value is in the rest of the post. And there are so many times where I want to delete something. Listen, I don't like watching myself on live video either. But I have a rule with myself where I will wait one day, just one day. And if you really hate it and it's so bad and nobody watches it, then you can delete it. But like you said, if there are 8,000 views, you can't delete it. There are people that loved it. Yeah. And a lot of the time when we think it's really terrible, actually everybody else thought it was amazing.
Yeah. And one thing I've learned about this recently too, it's kind of called like being a bit polarizing and less vanilla. And it doesn't mean that we need to start arguments on our page and talk crazy politics or vaccine questions or things that, like, I mean, if you really want to, you can. But the goal is to just, what are your core values? What are you really, like, what are you passionate about? And then like put your, you know, what are the stake in the sand or whatever, and be so proud about that. Because if we're, like you said, talking to everyone all of the time and we're super vanilla and we never have an opinion, then the people won't be drawn to us. Mm-hmm. And the only time people are drawn to us is if sometimes people are pushed away, and that's okay.
Yeah, and like, to be honest, you're going to see that like you actually end up working with only people you love working with. Because I always say to my clients, like, you get to choose. Like, you get to choose who are your clients. You get to choose who your team members are. Like, you do not need to work with everybody. You don't need to have every single person on your team. And I mean, like, you know, if it's not vibing, like, I've canceled many, 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 many people. And I'm like, no, sorry, I can't do that right now. Like, you know, if it's not vibing, like, this is your business. You didn't create a business to do something you don't want to do.
Say that one more time.
So you didn't create a business to do something you do not want to do. Like, yeah. I get to choose, like, you all get to choose who's on your team, who you work with, who are your clients. If somebody is driving you absolutely freaking mad, which some people do to me, and I literally say, you know what, I don't think that this is working right now. So, you know what, I don't think that we can go forward. There are some people I've literally wanted to give them back their money. I'm like, I will give you all of your money back, just never speak to me again. Because like, no, they're driving me out.
Like, yeah, we've been there.
No one has time for that. Like, I don't have time for that. Like, that's another thing with like the social media stuff. Like, to be honest, like, I don't have time to be scrolling. Like, I do my best to like reply to people on my page, but like, you don't have time for that. you have time to like be out there, getting your message out there and like connecting with real people. And how do you connect with them? By doing the things that you stand for. So you said, like, what are your core values? I actually had that written down on my piece of paper to mention, because like, what are the things that you stand for in your business? Because like for me, connection was always the most important. So when I use automation, when I use anything online, all I care about is connecting with real people, because real people is how you make money, because no non-real person is going to give you any money.
No bot's going to give you money.
No, it's just not going to happen. No bots are going to give you money. So I really focus my business on how can I connect with just one person. If you connect with one new person a day, I actually only try and connect with 3 new people a day. So today I got 67 new people or 60.
You'll have a lot in the recording too. It's good.
There you go. So like I have my quota for a long time, but like typically my goal for myself is to connect with 3 new people a week. If I connect with 3 people, then I made my goal. And like in those 3 people, if one person buys from you, that's enough. And so when I speak, I literally only try and speak to one person. So I ask myself, especially when I'm sharing things that make me feel embarrassed or are vulnerable and like I feel like I shouldn't say them out loud, I say to myself, am I willing to be judged by 10 people if it helps one person who is struggling? Just one. And same thing with like when I invest in my business. If I make an investment, if this helps me get one client, will it be worth it? If it helps me make one sale, will it be worth it? So looking at that, because it's a lot easier to put yourself out there when you're willing to be judged in service of one person who is struggling. Like when you think to yourself, oh, am I selling too much? I have a mantra for that. Selling is serving. If no one buys from you, no one gets the product that is going to make their life better, easier, or happier, healthier. So any of those things, like asking yourself, like, is this in service of someone, or am I putting time, energy, and effort into something that isn't in service of anyone? So when you go out and connect with new people, could you give an example of how you go there and speak to a new person? Yes, this is actually on our list of like one of the things we're going to do. Do you want me to go there now?
Sure.
Okay, and you can come back to
I do want to mention though, because the beginning didn't get recorded. If you missed the Dreamcast that we recorded, she shares her whole story, how she started her business, like the transition from corporate into her business and how she like made that flip. And so you'll hear like all the background of her in the podcast, which is why I didn't want to like spend time with that today. We just like dove right in. Yeah. And the reason for that is because all of that is on the podcast. So if you missed it, go listen.
Yeah. And like, the thing is like, well, we were on that for a long time.
We were.
We just kept going. But I think it's also important to know that like, I did not come from any of this information. Like I was in insurance. Okay. Like my background, I went to university for like health sciences. I literally didn't know any of this stuff before 2.5 years ago. So like when you hear my story, like know that wherever you are, you do not need to have known any of this stuff, and you can definitely get to become extremely successful. Lots of people didn't even go to high school and are very successful. So, but yeah, so with that question of like, how do I connect with people? So social media is a wonderful thing to build your business. But like not social media isn't the only way, but it is a main way that I connect with people, because I built a business so that I could live life and not only be working, and so that I could work with badass people that I love. So I use social media in a number of ways. One, in like an organic way, whether it's live videos, which is an amazing way to get your message out there, because people see you, they hear you, and they can like feel like they're with you. When you just write something on a post, which I learned this the hard way, when you just write posts on social media, no one can hear you. I mean, a lot of my clients are moms. They don't have time to read long things, even though if you do follow me on Instagram, I have like a freaking novel every day. But I know that they don't read that. I know that they can't read it. So like, how can you create content for your dream client? Like really identifying, who do I love working with? So look, or like, who do I love speaking to, or who do I love hanging out with? Who do I love to have on my team? If you can think of one person, actually my coach said this to me, you can think of one person like that, there are thousands, if not millions of people out there like that. There are 7 billion people. There are definitely 1 million of them that are your dream clients. So live video, number one, and I was terrified. When I say terrified, like I would have, like I always used to say, like I'd rather get like waxed, like a vagina wax, than do any of that stuff. Like I would much rather get needles, have surgery. Like I would have rather like somebody like stabbed me before I would do a live video. Like 100% I would have said, yes, that's what I would choose. But if I wanted to leave corporate, if I wanted to help people, who cares if I make a fool of myself on live video, which I regularly do? Like if it helps one person who is struggling, will it be worth it? Yes, it will be worth it if it helps one person. So I did it. And I actually watched my first live video last week and it was so painful. I was like, oh my God, I should delete it again. But if you guys follow Marie Forleo, you can actually go back and see all of her videos too. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Then you can see where I came from and know where I am now. So don't worry, like it definitely gets better. Like I always think about it like when you learn to walk, when you learn to read, you weren't very good at that either at the beginning. And you learn. With experience, you learn. So it gets better, I promise. But the first step is actually doing it, even if it's painful, even if you hate it. A lot of my clients never wanted to do live video. And in the end, now they prefer to do live video, same with me, than to write something.
Me too.
So what I do with that is I do a live video. I used to do it on my business page. The key with if you're going to do it on your business page is because of the changes to Facebook, it doesn't get shown to literally anyone. Before, 10%. Now, 0. So if I'm going to do it on my business page, I put it on a video views Facebook ad. Why? Because I can spend $10 on a video views ad, get it out to 1,000 new people that I've never met before for $10. Like if you can take $10 and turn that into a client, would that be worth it? Yes. So that's kind of what I used to do with my live video when I don't need, but the thing is, I always like to have an actual way to turn those viewers into a paying client. So until I have a lead magnet, which we're going to get to in a minute, until I had a lead magnet, I don't necessarily think that it's a good investment to put your $10 in there unless you have a way to get it out. So if you are not doing that, do anyone create like their own like Facebook communities?
We sometimes some people have a lead group. So yeah, anybody who's requested information can go in a group, or customer groups. We have a lot of customer groups as well.
That's freaking amazing. Chelsea, you're in insurance right now too, and you're working to get out. Well, just so you know, like that's exactly what I did, and I got out. So it's possible you could do it. But yeah, like I think that if you do have a Facebook group, that's a really great way to do a video because people sometimes get notifications about that. Otherwise, if you're not going to put it on an ad, I would do it on my personal page because it will certainly get out to more people. And the point is to get it out to more people. Once you're like more in the groove of things, you might want to switch it to either a group or in your like on a Facebook business page. The other thing is like I never used to do this, but I do it all the time now. Instagram Live I used to hate it because everybody that does it, I'm sure you will experience this one day. There are such creepers on there. Such creepers. Like, oh, can I get your number? Do you have a boyfriend? Like, ew. So I just block all those people. And then again, if it helps one person who is struggling, will it be worth it? So am I willing to deal with those annoying creepers if I can do a live video that helps people?
Go ahead. Well, I was just thinking, so you are sharing your message. Basically, you're sharing your core values. You're sharing your excitement, your passion. And somebody says, yes, let's get into what you, like the system of it. They say, yes, then what do you do next?
Okay. So number one, how do you get into it? I usually use a sex analogy. So I'm just going to do that. Hopefully you guys are cool with that. Like nobody wants to just like go in right away. Like the minute you think about it, no, that's not going to happen. You need to like warm it up. You need to get in the mood. You need to like, get to know each other before you have sex with each other. Like you're not going to like meet someone at a party or someone's going to introduce you for the first time. You're going to be like, yep, see ya. Like not going to happen. So there needs to be some getting to know you part. So on the live video, showing a little bit of yourself, talking about what you do, talking about your story, talking about feelings, but then giving them a next step. So this is what people call a call to action. To simplify it, it's like, what is their next step? Once they watch this video, what if they want more? What if they want something after that? How can they get it? So typically I like to do a little bit of a softer lead into a purchase. So maybe you say like at the end of your live, like, hey, shoot me a direct message if you have questions, or follow me, or even sometimes putting a comment. You can go back and add those people and follow them afterwards. Or sometimes I'll say join my Facebook group, or sometimes I'll say download this thing, or watch this video, or join me on this training. So something that will lead them into, because a lot of people will be like, book a call or purchase this thing. Sometimes I just like to move into it a little bit slower. So then the next thing that you can do, maybe the next time, or on your Instagram stories or on your feed, giving them an opportunity. So talking to them about why should they care about this product that you have. So I like to talk about their results, not the features. So like, let's say that I'm selling like this amazing supplement, right? And it's been game changing. I've tried every supplement out there and nothing has worked. And now I tried this one and it was epic. Well, what about it was great? How did it change your life? Don't just tell me it changed your life, but like, what did it specifically do? Did you specifically lose weight? How much weight did you lose? Did you lower your cholesterol? How much did you lower your cholesterol? Did you lower your blood sugar and now you don't have to use insulin? Like, give me specific examples of how did that change your life? And then I go one step further from that. So it helped me lose weight. It helped me lose 30 pounds. It helped me lose 30 pounds. And now I'm able to play with my kids at the park. So giving them my old coach used to call it the benefits of the benefits of the benefits. And I was like, I don't know what that means. So if you could please break that down for me, that would be great. So I have like a small little hack for it. So when I think about it, it's like, okay, what is the thing that happened? I lost 20 pounds. Like, what was the impact? I lost 20 pounds. So that you can, or when I'm explaining it, you can take the supplement to lose weight, so that you can play with your kids at the park, so that you have a deeper relationship with your children, or so that you're spending quality time with your kids, so that they're not watching TV as much. Something like that. So like taking the actual thing that it's going to do, the impact, so that you can blank, so that you blank, so that you can twice. So we're giving the impact, like how it's going to change my life, plus how that is going to impact my life, then again, how that is going to impact my life. So that way we're focused on the results that they want to achieve. That's a really good distinction too. Focusing on not just the results you want them to achieve, but the results they want to achieve. So when I say that, what I mean is, I'm a business coach. So I might talk in like jargon about like Facebook ads and sales funnels and automation and bots. Somebody who just started their business has no idea what I'm talking about. Zero. So I can't talk about using Facebook ads and bots and all these things if I want to connect with those people. So I have to think to myself, what was I wanting when I didn't know about this whole world? I probably wanted clients and to make money. So going back to that day, where are they? What do they want? And listening to them. Sometimes you hear people tell you what they want, and use their words to describe it. Instead of like rephrasing or reframing what they want, focus on what they told you. Give them that. Talk in those terms. Use their words. That's like a coaching hack. When you use their words in a question or use their words in a comment, it connects with them more than if you reframe. Active listening to provide a solution for them. Yes, exactly.
You can even think when you're writing down your ideal client, you're like, who is my ideal person that would want to join our team? And you know somebody, or maybe you take them out to lunch and go ask them questions and kind of interview them. So that way you can get their mindset a little bit in your mind and then use those words exactly.
And so one of my best questions for that, because I actually do that with my clients, for one, we connect back with like, what were we doing when we made that decision? So what was I doing like I remember to the day. What was the day I decided that I did not want to work in corporate anymore? I remember it like it was yesterday. So like, what was happening in my life? What was I reading? What was I talking about? What was I concerned with? Those types of things like will connect with you. You'll like know like, oh, what they're reading too and what they're thinking about, what they're dealing with. But then I usually have like a list of questions, but things like my basic question is like, what would they pay anything to make disappear? What would they pay anything to make disappear? Because it can't be something that I would pay $100 for. Cause like, let's be real, they're not going to spend only $100, right? We're talking like larger sums of money. So it has to be something that they would pay anything to make disappear, to make it worthwhile for them. So let's say like, I mean, most people, health is like a really easy one because you cannot buy health. So if you've experienced a health scare or had someone in your family that struggled with some sort of disease or cancer or something, you're going to be like more aware of that in yourself and know. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys live in the US, like I live in Canada. And I mean, I know, because I studied this in school, that in the US, it costs a lot of money to be sick. So by spending the money now, they're preventing themselves from being in that situation in the future. So health is like, to me, the easiest one, because you're like, you can't buy your health back, but you certainly can prevent it. Mm-hmm. So thinking about those types of things, like what would they pay anything to make disappear? A lot of people, like I like struggle with acne. It's like, I mean, I would pay anything to make acne disappear. Like a lot of people would pay anything to get rid of the baby weight. That's why people do liposuction and things like that. That's why the weight loss industry is so big. Or like beauty and health. Like, I mean, usually I get fake eyelashes and people get their nails done. So like, that's a lot of money when you add it up over their lifetime. Even if you add it up over just this year, it's a lot of money. Sometimes when I'm on the phone with people, I do even pull those things in. Like, what are you spending money on that isn't helping you or that isn't getting you to the solution that you really, truly desire? Because we spend money on a lot of things that don't get us any closer to where we want to be. And yet we struggle to spend like a little bit more money than what's comfortable with the things that we really, really want, because it seems like a lot of money. So sometimes I'll talk to them about the money thing. Like, I mean, a lot of the time I will like actually break it down. How much money are you spending on drinking? Right? Like, how much money do people spend on drinking? How much money do you spend on like food? I mean, even if you look at how much money, like even if you're trying to be healthy and you're like buying all the healthiest things, like those kombucha like things cost like $8 a bottle. I mean, in Canada they do. But so like, you know, when you add that up, or Starbucks, and you add it up over an amount of time, like, is that getting you any closer to where you want to be? And so helping them work through like what the results of that is. So if they have their result today, how is that going to impact their life for the rest of their life? Because I think a lot of people think about their situation today, but they don't think about their situation for the long term. And like, we need to get them in that mindset of thinking about that. So I usually say to my clients, a little bit of fear never hurt anybody. So use some of that fear, talk about it, put it out in the open when you're on social media. Call people out for those things. Share with them, like, you know, this is the reality of what could happen. I'm not saying it 100% will. Nobody knows if it will. But these are the things you can do to prevent that from happening. I know that like I was terrified of staying in my job forever. I was like looking at people above me and being like, I do not want that to be my life. Right? So what are you going to do today to make sure that that doesn't happen? So this is kind of where on social media, like I'll just be, you know, a little bit open about that stuff. Like, don't be shy to like share the realities or add a little bit of fear, because sometimes that fear like helps people take action. And I always say our job is to help people get the result that they truly want. Like, you guys are in your business to help people. And even if you're pushing them a little, I don't usually like to use the word push, but like, even if you are pushing them a little bit, maybe they needed that little push. Like, I can guarantee you, like if I was jumping off those cliffs, you know, like people jump off cliffs, like cottages and things, like I would not be doing that unless someone pushed me. I might want to do it, but I would need a push because I would be too afraid to actually jump. I always say that when people go like skydiving, like I would need someone to push me. So sometimes like it is your job to push people to the point that like they say yes to the thing that they actually want.
And I think that as a leader or as the person that's going to help them take action, it's our job to be a bit bold. I mean, we talk about casting vision all of the time. And so when you're casting vision, it's like a pendulum. They're here on fear. We're here on vision. Like, we have to be extra loud to get them to tip. And so you are being bold. And sometimes you're stirring the pot with where they are here, so they actually take steps in the other direction.
Yeah, totally.
And when you can connect it to your story, then then I think that it evokes that emotion.
And like, even like I talk a lot about the things I'm afraid of. Like if you're afraid, that's fine. You don't need to have already done it and not be afraid at all anymore. You just need, again, we're only helping, I don't know if I said this, but we're only helping people that are a couple of steps behind us. So you don't need to be at the end to help people that are at the beginning. You just need to be a couple of steps ahead of them. That's it. 1, 2, 3 at a max. Because I always talk about too, like I would not want to work personally, like one-on-one with Marie Forleo. She built her business 20 years ago. Like the world is a different place nowadays. Like how she built her business isn't going to work for me today. So working with someone who was just where you were is actually really powerful because one, they haven't forgotten where you were, and two, they just made the change. So maybe I always think about this like with parents, like when you have kids nowadays, it's way different than when we were kids. Because like we didn't have iPads. Like I tell kids, I used to teach kids snowboarding. I used to say to them all the time, like, did you know we used to have internet through the phone line? And they're like, no. And yeah, we did. Okay. For a long time. It was very slow. And so like, I always say to my parents, like, I can't imagine having gone to university without the internet. Like, I don't know how you guys did essays without the internet. Like that would have been terrible.
I know. By the time encyclopedias are out, like the information has changed.
Exactly. It's like, I don't want to work with someone who did that back then. So working with people who were where you were just a couple of months ago is like actually ideal. So Eve, you asked like, do you go outside and blitz people? What does blitz mean?
That is such an it works term. Basically, that means, do you give out business cards?
Oh,
do you network in your area? Do you do
kind of have social anxiety?
Like
I sort of, even though no one ever believes this about me because I am very outgoing, especially in real life. But like I have social anxiety, and so I don't really do that. But like also, I used to do that in corporate, and I never knew where those things were. Like I had a drawer of people's things, and like I just think it's a big waste of money personally. Okay, so she loves to do it. So this is actually a good point because actually someone brought this up in my Instagram live yesterday. One of the things that I think is super important is just because I do something doesn't mean that you do it that the same way. Like I think you have to do a lot of, like you have to do what works for you, what you feel comfortable with. Like I feel like I would have like super anxiety and like want to run away if I had to like literally like be in a big room of people and like just make new friends. Like I'm good with like one friend, maybe like 3 friends, but like throw me in like completely blind. Like that's not my cup of tea, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to work super well for you. So I personally think that the best option is the thing that you feel most confident with. Learning new things is great. Trying new things on for size, because I never thought I would ever like live video, but I do now most of the time. But like, so doing the things that you feel good about and that connect you with people, that's the only thing I think is important, is like the connection aspect, is like do the thing where you can connect with real humans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not the thing that's going to like get out to like so many people and you're like, oh my gosh, everybody's going to see me out there. Like, but I'm talking to a big group. No. Talk to one person. If you talk to one person like 12 times, great. If it works for you to go to like live events, amazing. Like do those things. That's probably better than any social media thing you could ever do, is to meet people in real life, to be amongst their energy. I think would be the best possible thing, because people are going to remember how you made them feel. So connecting with like something, and I don't know like how you guys do that, but like going and like literally like being memorable in the sense of like connecting with something that you guys have in common, or some feeling or experience that you have. Again, this story part of like sharing your story, being vulnerable with people, is the thing that is going to actually still make you stand out, because people remember those types of connections more than like, hey, how are you? What do you do? You know, try and share a little bit with some people that you have, like kind of feel out their energy. I know this is a little woo-woo, but I don't know. It's something about like you can feel when you walk into a room and you're like, ooh, what's happening in here? You know, you can feel it.
Well, and you can tell when you're going out and you're going to a networking event or a meetup group or a BNI meeting or whatever, and you show up open and not on your phone and you're engaging and you're talking, like people notice. Or you show up and you're working the whole time, or you're on, you know what I mean? And you're not fully engaged. So when you're out in the world, like you've got to be fully engaged, but you can have that open-hearted spirit throughout your posting and online as well, and get that out there.
And I highly recommend that. Like when you're in real life, like put your phone away, like lose your phone, lose it. Because like, you know, there's just an energy that when you're like focused in here, it's like a closed off, unclosed. Like when you're like looking around and open and like not looking down, you're not so closed off.
Yeah. Yeah. So how often should we do lives, and what are other ways that we can grow our audience online?
Okay. So number one, you can never do too many lives.
I think Amanda Cozad's like, yes, she's been going live like every day. Good job, Amanda.
Yes. Honestly, Amanda, that's amazing. Like I want to take a page from your book because like I have to work myself up still like a year and a half later. But, I definitely think the more lives you can do, the better. It only does good things for you the more you're live. So
and how long, like, is there a strategy for how long you should stay?
Yes. Good question. Okay. So number one, it depends. The answer is it depends. The depends is if you're going to put it on an ad, I would keep it below 15 minutes. But if I'm doing it on Instagram Live or I'm doing it in a group, the longer the better. Because the key is that you really want people to show up live. One, they feel like they're actually getting a conversation with you, like they can connect with you. So you really want to work to get them to show up live. So I like to send out a message. I'll put it on Instagram. I'll put it on Facebook. I'll send out an email to like everybody that I can on my personal page, my business page, like literally everywhere. Because I want people to show up live. So give them the time that you're going to be live if you can. If you can't, it's cool too. But it's also way more fun when there are people on there that can engage with you. And so I like to give people advance notice when I'll be live. Try and be as consistent as possible. It also helps people know and like depend on that. It's like a TV show. Like, you know when it's going to be live, you know when it's going to be on. So you can like plan around that. But
does it matter how many people jump on in the first few minutes? Because I've heard like if people jump on pretty quick, then Facebook will get it out there more.
So this is actually a very honest and true thing. But it's more engagement. So yes, if people are on it, but you really want to get people to engage. And the key is that, and goes for YouTube too, if you're using videos on YouTube or doing videos on YouTube, is you really don't want to ask questions like, who's here with me? Or like, where are you from? Like you want to get them to like share a little bit about them. You know, like ask them questions where they can share experiences, or ask them questions that they can even just like, number one, you need to act like people don't understand how to use anything. And I know it sounds stupid, but you have to pretend like they've never used social media before and like tell them, put a hand up or put a 1 in the comments, or let's get a show of hands for who agrees, or have you ever had this experience? Say yes in the comments. If you are not super direct about put this in the comments or write this now, people don't do it. If you ask like what sounds like kind of rhetorical questions, they don't do anything. Yes, treat them like babies. Exactly. So definitely specifically say it. I also like to say, like, if you're watching the replay, write replay in the comments so I know. 1, I do that because you want to know who's there. 2, you want more engagement. 3, because if they're watching, like, you can add them as a friend after, or you can like, ask them a question after they write replay. Like one of the questions I love to ask is, what resonated with you? What shifted for you? Because it's a very open-ended question where like they can share something about themselves. Once you get that conversation going, then you can jump on a call or speak to them in a private message. So engagement gets it out to more people. So if people are liking, commenting, then Facebook's going to show it to more people. The longer you're on it, especially if there's more engagement, then more people can jump on. So I will send out like a message in the morning about what time I'll be live, because it's usually in the afternoon. And then I'll send out a reminder message about 5 minutes before in my group, on my email, and on Facebook, on Instagram, that, hey, I'm going to be live. Come join me. So how many times a day do you post about the product and business posts? Okay, perfect. Okay, so how many times? I usually like to stick to 1 time per day per channel. Not like Instagram stories does not count. Instagram stories you can post on there 1,000 times.
Speaking of, let's get that ready.
Yeah, exactly. So Instagram stories, like you can post, I don't care how many times. I think the more you post on Instagram stories, the better. I can get to that in a minute, but certainly I think that the more you post on every other channel, I would post once per day. I usually post twice per day if I'm doing a live video that day, just to remind them. But when it comes to like business or product-based stuff, I usually say that it's important to sell at least 3 times per week. If you, again, it's like the baby thing. If you do not tell people that they can purchase something from you, they don't do it. So you need to say like, you can buy this now, or you can join this now. Give them an actual thing to buy, thing to purchase.
Well, and it's true. You can share your story and then they'll say, good for you. So there has to be that closing end statement of, you can do this too, and here's how.
And so this is where I go to the next step, right? Is like, what is their next step? If they just heard about this product and they're like, I want to buy it, but you don't give them a way to purchase or say like, you can buy this now, they don't know that that's available. And they're like waiting for that offer. So I do like to do at least 3 posts where I'm selling something a week. 3 emails, or if you're only sending 3 emails a week, then you can send 1 email that's salesy. Shifting the mindset about what's salesy and what's not, because like salesy is a good thing. If you're selling, you're helping people. Oh, you're so welcome, Jessica. So like selling is serving. So the more I sell, the more people I help. The more money I make, the more people I help. The more people I help, the more money I make. So like, I am not one to be giving away too much free stuff because I don't believe that free helps people. When you give everything away for free, people feel like they don't need to hire you or don't need to purchase this thing because they're like, oh, I already did it. Like, oh, I already figured it out on my own. I'm like, that's not true, because then they fail because they don't have whatever else that they needed. Yes, it is so true. And like, I always use the example of like, how many times have you gotten something free on the street or a sample and you're like, that was good, I'm done. And like, you don't actually need to purchase it, but then you're like, oh, but then you don't have that thing. So I get more money on Wrap Cash, but I'm learning to do it online. There you go.
But you're right. When you pay for it, people take it more seriously, which is why we don't give away free wraps, right, guys? We have people pay for it because they will then, and it's really more about them seeing the value in it than it is about making Wrap Cash down the line. It's really about that them paying for it is an important transaction for them.
Exactly. So I always explain this to my clients in the way that like, you guys are all women. So like, I don't know if you guys know what Louboutin shoes are, but they're like $800 shoes. Ridiculous. Like, they're just regular heels that are $800. Those are like the red soled heels. Anyways, so I always like talk about how people that buy those shoes literally are so excited to give those people their $800. So like, they are going in there and they don't feel like that person's taking their money from them. They're excited to give them the money for those $800 shoes. So like, and then they don't wear them outside. They don't like wear them in the wet or the snow or the rain. Like, they don't wear them anywhere that they're going to get damaged or dirty. And if they have the red soles, they're like, oh, I don't want them to wear off. Like, I need to only wear them certain amounts of time. So like, people value them so much more. And really, they're made out of the exact same things as every other shoe out there. And yet, because they were these Louboutin shoes, like, people are like, oh my gosh, I need to take such good care of them. Like, there's literally nothing different about them. Literally nothing different about them. So like, why do we care about these shoes and not there? Because I paid more money for them. So this is exactly the thing about like, if you pay more money, you believe it was better and you actually value it more. How many of you guys know that every single like no-name brand at the grocery store is the exact same thing made in the exact same factory? And yet we're like, but maybe this one is better, so I'm going to pay the higher price for the brand name thing that is actually made in the exact same factory with the exact same ingredients.
Yep.
Like,
and I think that's just another reminder to be proud of the products and the business and own the price, because it's good for them to pay it. You know what I mean? I think sometimes we shy away, or we don't want to say how much it is, or we're like, but you can get it for free this way. When really it's in their best interest to fully own it and value it. So one question I have is, we talked about doing some Facebook Lives, getting engagement, maybe even having a follow-up group that we add them to. But it's like you have to have that next step. We have a lot of virtual parties. We, friend them on Facebook. You have a next step to invite them to so they can continue to get to know us. What are some other ideas for following up or making things easier so that way we can continue to generate leads and make the follow-up feel easy?
Okay, so this is a good point because I don't do follow-ups because I'm like, I don't have time for that. So what I do is I set up automations that follow up for me because, like I said with the sex analogy, that you got to warm the person up, you got to get to know them before you go in for the kill. So what I do is I provide one free thing, whether it's a free video or a free training or a free downloadable. I'm sure you guys have all signed up for many free downloadables online, and then you get all these emails. So what you do is you create something that's high value, again, something that they would pay anything to make disappear. You promote this thing that they sign up for, and then there's a series of emails that, one, deliver the download, whether it's a video or a training or a downloadable, something that they can download. But then there are a series of emails after it that are called a nurture sequence. So we're nurturing them, we're getting to know them, we're, telling them a little bit of our story, and then sharing stories that are in service of the thing that you're going to sell them on. So what is the end goal is always where we start. So if I want to sell them on this product, what do they need to know in order to get there? So sometimes it's a mindset shift. Most of the time we focus on what is the mindset shift that needs to occur for them to go from skeptical to buyer or from subscriber to buyer. Because what are the beliefs that we need to eliminate? What are the things that need to shift inside of them? What do they need to know in order to know that this thing is the right next step for them? So everything is about what is their next step. If they want this goal, if they want this impact or outcome, that this thing is going to be the solution to that problem that they have. And then sharing some of those stories about that or getting to know you and why this product or how is this going to help them? How did it help you? How did it help other people that you work with or that are your clients? And then eventually giving them the offer to purchase that thing.
Now, what system would you recommend for a new distributor or a new business person?
So the system I use is ClickFunnels. It's kind of a steep entry. It's $97. The reason I use that is because I use it for opt-ins, webinars, membership areas, everything, order forms, everything.
We use ActiveCampaign.
Yes, and I use ActiveCampaign for my emails.
Okay. And we used to use, I would say, I think MailChimp is a good place to start for most people.
Yeah, so MailChimp is a good place to start. Just know that MailChimp doesn't make it super easy to create that automation. So I know ActiveCampaign is like $9, I believe, per month. I think that there are some that are even less expensive than that. But do go to something for email marketing that you can grow with. Mm-hmm. Because it takes a lot of energy and effort to remake everything. But if you start with MailChimp, start getting in the habit of sending emails. And again, we all hate email marketing. Let me tell you, I hate it myself. I hate doing it. I hate receiving it. But the key is that people, that is the only place, one, I call it an insurance policy, because your account can get shut down on any other platform and you'll lose all those people. All those contacts you had, they're gone. And we don't control the algorithms that show our content to them or not. Whereas email is a way we can get in touch with them. Plus it's a place I know for a fact that unless it gets stopped by spam, they're going to see it and they're going to get it. So it's a great way to, one, stay in contact with them regularly and make sure they're getting your content. And two, as an insurance policy. So when you're creating this sequence, you can use ActiveCampaign, there's ConvertKit, there's GetResponse.
What did we use before? We used a few. iContact at the beginning, and then it was
Flip is one of them.
But one thing that we did at the boot camp, you guys, this past weekend, somebody mentioned that they use MailChimp for all of their customers, and every single week they send out before and after testimony. And so they share the story and a picture. And the key with that is they have the same subject line every single time. So people start to recognize, oh, this is what was it? It was it was some catchy thing. I don't remember, but it was results and like, wow, I don't know, something. But it was the same subject line every single time. So you're just basically messaging your customers, and that's one way to stay in touch with them and get them to bridge to other products as well.
Can you post all of the website, please? Like all the different email websites, like email software?
Yeah, MailChimp. I'll write them down.
Yeah, MailChimp,
MailChimp.
ActiveCampaign.
Yeah, you can also, if you're not interested in getting an autoresponder series set up, then you can just use your Google and like collect all.
Oh, yeah.
You can use, you can create a canned response in Google and easily send out messages like BCC everybody.
Exactly. And so, wait, there was another question there. Is there something we can send for a specific product within our business?
That's a Denise question, not a Tanya question.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at you. I was like, that's going to be you.
Yeah, no, we'll talk about that later, guys. You talk to me all the time. Let's hear from her. She's got 2 minutes left.
Okay, so yeah, so basically like sending out more emails, like I have a mantra with that, like the more emails I send, the more money I make. Because even though none of us want to write emails, like believe you me, it's the number one thing I hate the most in my business. It's like sending out emails, but it's in service of them. So if it helps me get one client, will it be worth it? Yes. So sending out more emails, posting, and like I wanted to mention about Instagram stories. Like Instagram stories is one of those things that I really think that they can see your personality, who you are, your life, even if it looks like ridiculous, and like people want to see that. Like if your kids are having a temper tantrum in the background, like they want to see that because that makes them feel connected to you and like you get them and your lives are the same. So really showing more than you think is necessary is better than pretending to be perfect out there. The more mistakes and stuff that you show, the better, I would say.
Yeah, makes
Any
you real.
questions?
Makes you real.
Yeah, be real.
Whew, awesome information. And you can see why we talked for over an hour on the podcast, because I was like, tell me more about this.
Yeah, and don't click that stupid boost button on Facebook or Instagram.
No reason to boost post. Do an ad instead.
It will go way further. I've tested this 100 times, and literally the price is like 5 times on boosted post. You could spend $10 and get your message out to 1,000 people.
So one question I do have is the algorithm changes so much. And so it can be intimidating to like teach something because it could change tomorrow. So how do you stay on top of it all?
I think because I'm a big nerd about Facebook ads and like social media. And I think it's like it's in service of me. One, I personally am obsessed with Amy Porterfield's podcast. So she gives out a lot of great information. We give out a lot of great information about ads and social media stuff on our podcast. Rick Mulready's podcast is really good for that stuff too. So I really listen and like look to other people and like just keep on top of what's happening. And really like I learn a lot by making mistakes, by testing things, by trying out different things. Amy Porterfield, do you mean? How do you spell her last name? Yes. I can write it in here. Porterfield. But she gives out a lot of great information and she has a lot of great experts come on. But really I'm just like, you just like keep it on top of like listening and trying things out. Like, believe me, when you do things, you'll learn pretty quickly like what's working, what's not working. Like hashtags, like using hashtags on Instagram is huge, like to get your message out to more people. Using hashtags in your Instagram stories, guys, is like so good. Like I just hide them either behind a sticker or if you use the eyedropper tool, you can make it the same color as something in your Instagram story. And I think you can put 15 hashtags in there. So like using the biggest hashtags on your Instagram stories is better than using the ones you would use on your regular social media posts.
Oh, if you guys were on our keto call last night, we talked about, Audrey said that she's putting keto words in her Instagram stories and it's getting like 5 times the views as her normal stories.
Yeah. Even if you just use the location tag, you'll get so many more. Like, again, hiding it if you have to, but like putting it in there because it gets your message out to more people. And you don't have to use your location, guys, by the way. You can use any location. You can use New York, you can use Texas, you can use London, like you can use any location. It actually doesn't matter. And just like hide it behind something. Because like it gets it out to so many more people. Also like using different hashtags, getting it out to more people as well. Not using the same hashtags more than like every couple of days.
Okay.
So have like a list of like different ones that you use.
It's interesting because I didn't grow up using hashtags. So I'm like, do people do that? But they must use them. It must work.
I don't either, so I don't know. But I think that especially now, like, I mean, again, I don't use my Instagram feed either, which is why I started doing Instagram stories, because like I actually don't even look at the feed anymore. But if you do look at the feed, like different now they show like people you're not following and people that are like in the hashtags that like you've seen posts from. So I mean, some people look, and sometimes I also don't use hashtags about like necessarily like what the photo is, but what people could be looking for. So maybe they're looking for like healthy eating or healthy living rather than like keto.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they're looking for like recipes or like recipe ideas, like different things, like what will they be searching for? Because like one of the things I think a lot of people use is like hashtags about like, who am I? Right? Like I think I'm guilty of this too, just because it's a bad habit, but like doing things like ladypreneur or like girl boss or boss babe, like are your dream clients like searching for the things that you're using the hashtags for? Mm-hmm. Or are you wanting to talk, like, are you wanting to connect with those types of people? But those types of people aren't looking for those types of hashtags.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Right? So thinking about like, what would those people that you like, what would they be looking for? So I'm guilty of it too, so don't worry. But like, I catch myself in it like, Tanya, stop doing that. Like I love to use like soulpreneur, but like soulpreneurs are not looking at soulpreneurs.
Right. Anything else on your notes that you want to make sure that you get out for us?
Okay. Oh wait, this is on a different. Oh yeah. Okay, so I also put on here like the value ladder. So when I think about value ladder, I was talking about like the next step. So like as people get warmer, so we call people your warm audience, like people who know you and have seen you multiple times. So when we see things multiple times, when we purchased something teeny tiny from somebody, we're more inclined to purchase something bigger. So when you say to when you're thinking to yourself, okay, how can I sell more of this big thing? Sometimes it means selling more people into our smaller thing. And then the people that bought the smaller thing, then we're promoting the big thing to those people. So we're moving them slowly up the ladder is what we call it, like the value ladder. So we start them with something free. We then move to something teeny tiny, just to get their credit card information, just to get them in the habit of purchasing from us. And then we're promoting our bigger things so that now they're purchasing a bigger product or a more expensive product from us because they already purchased something small and they had a great experience. So that's where it also comes in like the nurture sequence is like we're moving people slowly up the value ladder. And as that whole audience of yours grows, you have a bigger pool of people to then purchase something small, to then purchase something bigger. So think about like, what can I offer that's high value, worth way more than what it costs? What is a quick win that I could give somebody? How can they see a big difference in a small amount of time? And how can I give them an offer that they just can't say no to? So creating an offer that people are like, that's too good to be true. Something that maybe, like, for example, me, like I offer this course called like the Go-Getter's Guide to Making Money. I do not make money on that course. The course is not for making money. It's literally for getting like my stuff into people's hands so that they're more inclined to book a call with me or more inclined to join one of my larger programs because they got a taste. It's like why they give you tasters at the grocery store. Mm-hmm. Because you're more inclined once you taste it to be like, that was actually better than I thought it was going to be. Maybe I'll buy a box of that. Mm-hmm. So think about what can you offer to people to give them quick wins that maybe isn't necessarily something that you make tons of money on, but that builds your audience of people.
Well, and another like kind of silly thing is I just posted on Facebook, we just got a new product and I said, all right, I've got 10 of these to send out. Who wants one? And I sent 10 of them out. And then now I have the ability to follow up with them. I have the ability to, just gives you another reason to connect with them down the line.
That is like such a good point. I do that when I launch any new thing is to like give or even do a giveaway. Like you'll see a lot of people doing giveaways. Why? It's not because like, to be honest, like that person that gets it for free likely will never purchase it again. But the people that entered, now you have an excuse to talk to those people.
Mm-hmm.
Or now you have an excuse to talk to that person who did purchase and see like how you guys can connect again. Because it's not really about the initial one, it's about the next. What is the follow through? What is like the next step for them? And maybe it's because they did something in the giveaway, now they get some sort of bonus, or they get some sort of discount or something like that. Like, how can you entice them? How can you create something or a bonus that maybe is valuable to them but doesn't cost you anything?
That can be free. I mean, you'll see, guys, I give away free calls all the time.
There you go. That's like such a good one.
Yeah, giving away air a little bit. Although I think I'm valuable.
Oh, it is. Totally.
You can give away a consultation. You can give away a free wrap appointment. You can give away a chin party. You can give away green samples. You can do keto, and you know what I mean? There's a lot of different things that you can do where you can have be a higher perceived value when it's a health consultation or whatever it is.
Exactly.
And people win it, and it's not necessarily costing you a ton. But the goal is that now not only did one person win it, but you also know 30 other people are interested.
Exactly. And when people like talk to you on the phone, and like they're much more inclined to buy from you than somebody on the internet that they've never spoken to. So the more people you get on the phone with, not that I want you to do this every day, all day, but the more people you speak to every week means the more people that are going to purchase from you.
Okay, so thank you so much for all of that information. I'm going to recap it in just a minute, but where can we find more of you? Where are you at?
Okay, so you can find our podcast, if you guys like podcasts, on any of the podcast channels, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher. It's called How We Hustle. And that's where we share a lot of, the things that we're learning, the things that are working in our business. Mike and I, with my other podcast hosts, like we have a great, banter a bit. So we kind of give it to each other sometimes and throw ideas off of each other. And then we'll talk about things that are working and not working. We just did a podcast today that came out yesterday, actually, that was about how to set up Instagram story ads. So if you go to that, you can learn about how to set up Instagram story ads. They're a really easy ad to set up, and they're really effective and inexpensive. And so How We Hustle. Otherwise, you guys can find me on Instagram or Facebook at Wholehearted Business Coach. And you can find me online, on my website, though I wouldn't recommend going there because I don't ever do anything with that. On wholeheartedbusinesscoach.com.
And if you go to the podcast Dreamcast that we did together, all of her links are in the show notes.
Yeah.
And that could be an easy place to find it
So
too.
yeah, that's a really good place to do it. And then, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly or through Janice. And if you guys have any follow-up questions, feel free, because we want to help you guys build your audience, become an expert in your industry, be confident in what you can, and that you can help one person who is struggling, who's a couple of steps behind you.
Awesome.
You guys are so welcome. Thanks for having me.
So I would love for you to share your biggest tip in the chat below. What was your aha moment today? Because I have 3 pages of notes. I know that you do too. I'm going to recap a few things we talked about, but while I close out, share your aha moment, your turning point, your light bulb moment in the chats. A couple of things that stood out to me were knowing who you are, knowing your core value, so that way you can have a stance and you can draw in your ideal client, because they're going to be attracted because they know, and trust you. The second thing I wrote down is think of one client. Who is your ideal client? And that ideal client can change, meaning you can have a nurse or a teacher or a stay-at-home mom, but when you're posting, you're thinking of that one person, and you're really getting in their head. What do they need right now? What are they thinking? What are they struggling with? Live videos allow people to get to know you. Don't boost, just do ads. Awesome, doing that. And then continue to have a series or a way, a next step for people so they can continue to get to know you and know, and trust you as well. Andrea says the benefits, and the benefits of the benefits of the benefits. And one thing to think about is you can have a story about all the different benefits. So write out all the benefits and then think of your personal story that would connect to each benefit. So then you can share that.
And if you guys don't have a story, you can always use someone else's story that you know. Sometimes when you get tired of talking about yourself, just talk about someone else's story.
And that's third-party credibility. Sometimes that's better anyway to have a client or a customer that's had an awesome story too. Ooh, I think this one's a big one for everyone. Aha moment. Am I willing to be judged by 10 people to help one. I love that. Hashtags that relate to who we're looking for. Perfect. Don't be afraid of who you really are. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Helping just one person at a time. Selling equals serving. Yes. Awesome. More live videos, sharing live videos. Other people relate to your story. Be yourself. Awesome. Well, all right. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for again, give yourself a pat on the back for earning this. And I know that you guys are the movers and shakers of our team, and we really want to continue to pour into those who want it for themselves. So Tanya, thank you for your time tonight. You have blessed us all, and we will be in touch.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you guys for staying.